Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddart. Thrilled today to spend a little time with you and talk specifically about what I've learned by being host of the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. From this episode, you're going to learn a couple of things: how you can apply these lessons to think bigger in your own life. Number two, you're going to learn how these principles apply to scaling a referral business, which those of you who know me know that that's a real passion of mine right now, and we'll be moving forward. So really excited again to be here with you. There's really five lessons, five that I want to share with you right now. And again, this really comes today because of a couple milestones that I hit. Number one is that we passed 50,000 downloads, which for like Joe Rogan is like not a big deal. For me, it's a great milestone, right? It's not the end point. It's not where I want to be ultimately, but it's a great step in the right direction. And if anything, it's helping me to find my people, the people that are like me, that also want to think bigger, that also want to be inspired to wake up to their own potential and to then be inspired to and seek out the help to live in pursuit of that potential. So if nothing more, I'm finding my group of people that think like I think, and we can go places together, which is really exciting. So again, this isn't the end all be all of where this show is going, but it's a milestone in the right direction. We're also just we're voted just recently. Some of you saw that, and I really appreciate all your kind words. It really means a lot to me. Number 4 on real estate marketing podcasts, I guess nationwide. So anyway, that's pretty cool. Again, not why I do this, but it's again kind of a fun milestone to know that some people are listening and that it's helping some people, and that's really what this is all about. So again, for those of you that are watching live, grateful that you're here. For those that are listening to the podcast after the fact, thank you as well for tuning in. I will say this, that if any of you have interest in learning more about scaling a referral business inside of the Scaling Your Referral group on Facebook, is where I'm pouring a lot of value right now into helping agents to close the gap between where their warm referrals turn off and their goals, helping to fill that gap. So again, if you're not yet a member of that group, Scaling Your Referral Business on Facebook, please go get in there now. All right, so back to the 5 lessons that I'm going to talk about today. Number 1, lesson numero uno, is just to think bigger, right? You probably expected that maybe that was going to make the top 5 list, but it really comes down to just not overthinking, but thinking bigger. Does that make sense? When I say not overthinking, oftentimes when we think about the term think bigger, we think about ourselves sitting with a pen and paper, pondering into the eternities, right? That is maybe the architectural design, but think bigger. Thinking is an action. Thinking is creating with the sole intent to go build something, right? An architect does not design floor plans, right? Blueprints to not be built. The reason why we think bigger is because we're going to take action on stuff. So if there's one lesson that you take away from this, is that think bigger. It's time for you to think bigger. It's time for me to think bigger. It's time for all of us to think bigger, which also means to take action after it, right? Some of you that have a faith-based background realize that faith without works is dead. Maybe that resonates with some of you. Like, without action, thinking doesn't do us much good. Thinking bigger to me means that we're taking action. And if this is the clarion call that you're hearing, is it's time to think bigger. It's time to go dream and do. The 2 Ds, dream and do. Okay, that's been a real lesson for me. Lesson numero 2. Number 2, the way to think bigger is to be around people who are thinking bigger than you. Most of the guests that have come on my show have accomplishments that are greater than mine. And I would say that that's a great way to live your life, is to constantly be seeking out people who are smarter and able to perform at higher levels than us. Sometimes people ask, like, did you see your podcast going in this direction? And it was like, no, I had a very limited view. It was really an idea on how I could be in conversations with people that were bigger thinkers than me so that I could bring them in as customers, right? It's transpired far beyond that now. It's become really a passion project, really something that really is kind of my flag of what I wave of helping people to think bigger. But again, it didn't start off what it's becoming now. So again, lesson number 2 is the only way, in my opinion, for you to actually think bigger, to create the life that you ultimately want, that's leaving the impact and the legacy that you ultimately want, is to purposely put yourself in the position to be around other people who are thinking bigger than you, that are doing big things. It will have an impact upon you. Lesson number 3. The best thing that you can do today is to start. I have a dear close friend who's been talking to me about for about 2 years about how he's gonna start a podcast. I mean, the equipment, the person to do the post production, all of that stuff. Like, it's always in design mode. And finally, I told him, I said, just do the podcast. I was horrible. You go back and listen to my first episode. Like, it was not good, guys. It was not good. The post production was super wonky, janky. Right? I now have a team that helps me to do all the post production, but it didn't start off that way. And if you're thinking that you've got to be great to start, no, you just have to You just have to start to be great. That's a Jim Rohn quote, by the way. Again, so if there's something that you've been meaning to do, you know that you want to do it, or you've been thinking about it and you have a hard time letting it go, get started. Do something today. Do something today. That's lesson number 3. The best thing you can do today is to start. Okay. Lesson number 4. Good things take time. Okay. Good things take time. I'm going to share with you here really quickly a little picture. Okay. This is a picture of the Chinese bamboo plant. Maybe some of you know the story, but these plants, you plant the seed and you actually don't see anything for years, like years. And it's fascinating when you think about that with maybe relative to a podcast, maybe relative to your business. Sometimes things just take time, right? There's a story here I want to share with you. A man got frustrated with life. Despite all the hard work and effort, failure was all that he learned. Feeling defeated with life, he left everything and exiled himself in the woods. There he met a hermit. The disappointed man shared his failure with the hermit. Give me one good reason not to quit, he pleaded with the hermit. Look, the hermit said, pointing towards 2 plants. Do you see that fern and bamboo there? Yes, the man nodded. When I planted the fern and the bamboo seeds, I took very good care of them. I gave them water, light, and fertilizer. Within a short period of time, the fern quickly grew from the earth, the hermit continued. But despite the bamboo seed being watered and nurtured for years, it did not outwardly grow as much as an inch. You know how disappointing that would be? In fact, nothing at all happened in the first year. There was no sign of growth, but I did not give up on the bamboo seed and continued to water and nurture it. By the 5th year, a tiny sprout emerged from the earth. Do you hear that? By the 5th year, year 5, a tiny sprout emerged from the earth. And within 6 months, the tree grew 100 feet tall. So did the bamboo tree lie dormant for 4 years only to grow exponentially in the 5th? The hermit asked. Baffled by the question, the man kept quiet. The answer is quite obvious. The little tree was growing underground, developing a root system strong enough to support its potential for outward growth in the 5th year and beyond. Had the tree not developed a strong foundation, it would not have sustained its life as it grew. And then he continued on. Did you know that all the time you had been struggling, you were growing strong roots, remarked the hermit. The man learned his lesson that day. He learned the value of persistence and hard work. The fern and the bamboo stood right in front of him as he walked towards his life to continue to work on his dreams. I hope that inspires some people that there might be stuff that you've been actually working really hard on, that you have started. And you're like, Justin, I did start, and I'm not seeing the fruits. In fact, I'm a little concerned about my future, and maybe I should go do something else. I think one of the biggest mistakes that we all make is we just don't commit to something long enough. We just don't commit long enough. When you find something that you love, where you are really good at, and you feel like you can only get better at, don't stop. Keep working at it. Keep working at it. Good things take time. Good friend of mine, Chris Suarez, who I know has been working in the real estate industry for a long period of time, today just announced that Place, right, really innovative real estate platform, just raised a Series A funding of $1 million, and we're, in fact, it might have been more than that, but we're just valued by Goldman Sachs at $1 billion. Now, somebody look at Chris and be like, yeah, like he's good, like he's just plugging along, but the stuff that he was working on underground, building the foundation to now receive that kind of funding is phenomenal, right? It's phenomenal. The same thing can be true in your business, regardless of what the accomplishment is. I don't think it's ever healthy to compare, but I think it is healthy to look at other people's stories and be inspired by them. Okay. I'm inspired by Chris. I'm inspired by so many of the other guests that have been on the show. And I think it's super important for us to not give up too quickly. Okay, if this is helpful and you're listening to this live, please let me know. Put value in the comments. That will just help this to get out to more people, to inspire more people to not give up on their dreams too early. And the last lesson I want to share with you, lesson numero cinco. Lesson number 5 is this, and it is that relationships matter most. It's a lesson that was taught to me by my mom a long, long time ago, and it continues to show up for me, is that beyond everything else, it's all about the people. The people matter the very most. That's why she went on to build a business that netted her 7 figures a year after I left the house, unfortunately. But hey, but that's why people that I'm around that inspire me and are super successful is because they don't lose sight, and I should say sustainable success and significance. People that have that outlook that people matter most, those are the people that really go on to have a great impact. So again, the 5 lessons, I'll review them quickly. Number 1, think bigger. Thinking involves action. Number 2, the way to think bigger is to be around people that are thinking bigger than you, right? If you're the big fish in a small pond, it's time to potentially move ponds. Step number 3, the best thing that you can do today is to start. Lesson number 4, good things take time. Remember the Chinese bamboo plant. And lesson number 5, relationships matter most. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, people matter most. It's all about the people. Again, I want to thank this episode is really just a tribute to all of you loyal listeners that tune in, that give support. I want to thank you. I would not be as inspired to continue on doing what I'm doing without the people reporting back to me, telling me that they've benefited from this work that I've done. So thank you for that. You'll continue to be a fuel to help me to expand the Think Bigger message to a wider and wider audience. So I'm grateful for that. And of course, my final request of everybody listening here today are these 3 simple words, and I am here to deliver them, and I will be for as long as you can imagine. And they are: go think bigger. Thanks, everybody. Talk soon.